Call to order this meeting of the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission for May the 23rd, 2024. We'll start with our roll call agenda. Commissioner Allen.
Present.
Commissioner Franks.
Present.
Commissioner Harrison.
Present.
Commissioner Lindsay votes present, is present. Commissioner Mann.
Here.
Commissioner McLemore.
Present.
Commissioner Orr.
Present.
Alderman Peterson.
Here.
And Commissioner Williamson.
Here.
Present. Everybody's present. The next part of our meeting is for citizen comments. This is a time that's open for citizens to be heard on any agenda or concern. If you would like to speak on a specific item on the agenda, we ask that you wait until the citizen comment period for that item. So as we bring up each item, there'll be a time for citizen comment specifically for that item. For any other citizen comments you can make now. Thank you very much. Fill out a speaker card. You can give it to Tia, and she'll get it to me. And then we'll ask you to come up to the lectern and give us your name and address, and then we ask you to limit comments to 2 minutes. So, given that, if you've got an item that's not on the agenda that you want to speak to about now, you're welcome to come forward now. Seeing none. The next item is for approval of minutes. This is the approval of the April 25th, 2024 Franklin Municipal Planning Commission minutes. Is there a motion for approval of the minutes?
Move to approve.
We have, was that a motion by Alma?
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion for approval by Commissioner McLemore, and a second by Commissioner Harrison. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, by roll call, Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner Mann.
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore.
Aye.
Commissioner Orr.
Aye.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
And Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Are there any announcements from staff?
Tonight?
No announcements tonight, okay. Okay, the next item is for approval of our consent agenda. And the consent agenda is a grouping of items on our agenda that will be handled on one motion and vote by the commissioners. The items on consent agenda tonight are items 3 and 4, item 6, item 8 through 10, and items 12 through 14. That makes up the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull an item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Harrison. And a motion, and the motion is seconded by Commissioner Allen. By roll call, Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner Mann.
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore.
Aye.
Commissioner Orr.
Aye.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
And Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
The consent agenda passes unanimously. Item number 5 is for Franklin Commons South Subdivision Site Plan, Section 4, Revision to Lot 8, a building addition. And the action is to call the letter of credit for performance agreement for landscaping, streets, private, drainage, and green infrastructure improvements. Is there a staff presentation on this item?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this memorandum is to provide information to the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission concerning the notice of non-extension for letter of credit for Franklin Commons South Subdivision Site Plan, Section 4, Revision to Lot 8, Building Addition from U.S. Bank. The background of this is Franklin Commons South was approved with conditions on February 17th, 2021. The performance agreement was signed July 13th, 2021. The irrevocable standby letter of credit was issued July 14th, 2021, in the amount of $132,000. While construction on the site has commenced, the improvements have not been reduced or released to maintenance. The City of Franklin received a notice of non-extension on March 21st, 2024, stating the letter of credit will expire May 27th, 2024, with no further extensions. The City of Franklin notified Pedigo Franklin Properties, LP, via email on March 25th, 2024, asking them to contact the bank immediately and instruct them to rescind the non-extension notice, thereby restoring the required auto renewal clause. Mr. Pedigo did respond to the email stating, "I will." On April 29th, 2024, the City of Franklin contacted Mr. Pedigo, stating that the bank has not sent the updated letter of credit to rescind the non-extension notice. On April 30th, 2024, the City of Franklin received an email from Lena Terry, Vice President, Business Banking Relationship Manager for U.S. Bank, stating that the rescind non-extension notice would be processed and the city would receive it before May 13th, 2024. On May 10th, 2024, the City of Franklin received an email from Ms. Terry stating that the rescind extension notice may not be received by May 13th, 2024 due to the expiration date of the letter of credit, May 27th, 2024, the FMPC meeting, May 23rd, 2024, and our deadline for pushing the meeting agenda packet, May 15th, 2024. Staff is currently recommending calling the letter of credit for the improvements listed below. If staff receives the updated letter of credit to rescind the non-extension notice by FMPC date, staff will update the recommendation accordingly. Improvements on the performance agreement are landscaping for $4,000, streets private for $25,000, drainage for $19,000, and green infrastructure for $84,000. The amount of the improvements should cover the cost to complete the project. Recommendations: staff did receive the updated letter of credit to rescind the non-extension notice on May the 20th, 2024. So we recommend to remove this from.
Deny calling the
Yes,
letter. of
Deny
credit.
calling this, sorry.
Okay. So the staff's recommendation is to deny, a motion to deny calling the letter of credit.
Yes, sir.
Does anyone from the public wish to speak to this item? I don't think I've got a card on this item for anyone. Seeing none, is there anyone here from the applicant? Think not. Got the letter? Okay, is there a motion on this item?
Motion to approve the staff's recommendation.
Deny calling the letter of credit.
Second.
Motion to deny calling it.
And there was a second by Commissioner McLemore. This is a motion to deny calling the letter of credit. Any further discussion on this item? By roll call vote, Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsey votes aye, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
That motion passes.
Okay, even though it said
Item number 7,
call.
Lincoln Square subdivision, site plan revision 1, lots 6 through 8. This is Aspen Grove Plaza Office Park Phase 3, Building 4. This is to call surety posted by cashier's check for the performance agreement for the multi-purpose trail improvement. This is along Jordan Road.
Yes.
Is there a staff presentation? Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this memorandum is to provide information to the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission concerning failure to complete improvements related to Franklin Square subdivision Revision 1, lots 6 through 8, Aspen Grove Office Park, Phase 3, Building 4. Lincoln Square subdivision, Site Plan Revision 1, lots 6 through 8, was approved with conditions on July 25th, 2013. The performance agreement for the multipurpose trail improvement was signed on November 25th, 2013. The cashier's check was received on November the 25th, 2013. Every year, an action request was mailed to Corey Craig, Aspen Grove Office Partners, the developer, giving them the opportunity to ask for a performance agreement to be reduced or released to maintenance. The city will be working on a project that is close to the work that was obligated to be completed near the intersection of Aspen Grove Drive and Jordan Road. If the developer were to choose to finally complete the work prior to the city starting their project, the city would end up having to remove the recently installed trail improvement work. Instead, the city would like to call the surety and incorporate the remaining improvement work into the city project. The applicant was sent a letter stating that the surety will be called and the money assigned to this improvement into our project, reassigning the completion of the multipurpose trail to the city. If this, It is the staff's estimation that the amount of surety will cover the work to be completed. Staff recommends that FMPC declares the performance agreement for the Lincoln Square subdivision in default and authorize the calling of the agreement and cashier's check for the completion of the improvement.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to speak to this item? Seeing none, is there anyone representing the applicant here? Is there a motion on this item?
Motion to call the bonds.
You have a motion to call the surety on this project
Second.
by Commissioner Harrison, seconded by Commissioner Orr. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none by roll call, Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks?
No.
No? Okay. Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner Mann?
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore?
Aye.
Commissioner Orr?
Aye.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Williamson?
Aye.
The motion passes. The next item is item number 11. Church of the City subdivision, final plat, creating one lot and dedicating right-of-way and easements on 44.37 acres located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Murfreesboro Road and Mack Hatcher Memorial Parkway. Is a staff presentation on this one?
Yes. So staff is recommending approval with conditions of this final plat at this time. At the day we published the agenda and the agenda packet, we had received word from the county that they would not approve the subdivision name as Church of the City subdivision. And that is a requirement for the Planning Commission to have that name and approve it along with the final plat. Since that time, the county has said that they will approve the name. So now staff has amended our recommendation to approval with conditions tonight.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to speak to this item? Seeing none, is there anyone representing the applicant?
J.C. Elder with Benoit Askew Architecture, representing the applicant. Just here to answer any questions.
Great. Is there a motion on this item?
Move to approval with staff conditions.
Second.
So we have a motion for approval with staff conditions by Commissioner Harrison, seconded by Commissioner Allen. Is there any further discussion on this item? By roll call vote, Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsey votes aye, Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
And Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
The motion passes. Next item is item number 15. Consideration of Resolution 2023-73, a resolution by the Franklin Municipal Planning Commission to adopt a comprehensive update to Envision Franklin. And this is a public hearing on this item. So we'll start off with staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, Planning Commissioners. I'm pleased to share that the Envision Franklin adoption draft is on the docket tonight. It serves as the city's general plan and provides a framework for the future land uses within the city limits and also within our urban growth boundary. Within the plan, the vision and 9 guiding principles establish the overall direction, and the 20 design concepts provide guidance for the future build-out of the community. Each design concept is mapped and contains a list of future land uses and site design standards, and also special considerations for the many unique locations in and around Franklin. I'm proud to share that a robust public outreach effort was conducted throughout 2023, which included 7 community meetings, 7 joint conceptual workshops, including 2 special joint workshops, and a community survey. One-on-one interviews were conducted with the BOMA and Planning Commission members, and all of this culminated in the release of the public draft on September the 7th of 2023. Open house meetings were then held 2 weeks later here at City Hall, and the staff shared the results and sought feedback on a variety of topics at the October and the December joint conceptual workshops. We could not have successfully done this much outreach without the assistance provided by Rundell Ernstberger and Associates out of Indianapolis, as well as our entire departmental staff. I would like to note and draw your attention to that yesterday, all of the public comments received by the posted deadline were combined and attached in Civic Clerk. This includes several from residents of the Mays Creek Basin. And tonight's required public hearing will punctuate the public outreach efforts. The main areas of emphasis or focus that emerged during all the public outreach included really all facets of housing, open space preservation, conservation subdivision, the creation of a factory district, the desired future of the Franklin Road Corridor, the Mays Creek Basin, the West Harpeth area, and the Goose Creek Basin east of I-65. So those are the kind of the big things that were brought up during the outreach. The major changes include the creation of a factory district, the transformation of conservation subdivision into 3 new design concepts: rural reserve, neighborhood green, and village green. Per the housing analysis, we looked for ways to integrate small residential scale, missing middle housing options, and are proposing the farmstead residential, which would have a maximum number of 8 units and a height of 2.5 stories. Approximately 600 acres along Highway 96 East have been recommended for the Village Green design concept. The 2 different property owners requested this change early in the project update, and it was discussed at a special joint workshop in early 2023. And the guidance received was to support development along Highway 96 East, Murfreesboro Road, while leaving the remaining land area north and south of these parcels in the development reserve design concept. And these mapping changes have been shown and were shown as part of the public draft release. The Brownland Farm site and Christ Community Church site have also been changed from conservation subdivision to civic and rec, with a special consideration to support a sports complex and related commercial uses. And in the Goose Creek Basin, design concepts and special considerations have been assigned to parcels that have been annexed. And lastly, a ninth guiding principle related to housing choices has been added. On March the 26th, the BOMA voted 6-1 to recommend approval of the Envision Franklin adoption to the Planning Commission. And the staff recommends approval of Resolution 2023-73. And that concludes my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it's time for public comment. Some more. Thank you. So what we'll do is I'll call out 4 or 5 names, and if you'll kind of queue behind the lectern. So we ask you to come to the lectern and give us your name and address, and then we ask you to hold your comments to 2 minutes. So we will start off with James Anderson, followed by Peg Raciti, Karen Smith, Linda Artemov, and Dean White.
Thank you for your time. I've been a longtime resident of Williamson County here. I bought my property in
Can you give us your name and address, please?
James Anderson, 3795 North Chapel Road. So I bought my property back in 1985. Part of the reason why I wanted to buy it was because it had a country atmosphere close to a town. And we've really seen that eroded as time has gone on. And I know some development is unavoidable, but the development, the rules that have been in place that I've had to adhere to since 1985 for developing in my property, I don't understand why we're giving special attention to a developer to change the nature of the whole area. Most of the residents that live there because they like the country atmosphere that's like an oasis in the middle of the city. And I think that it would be doing a disservice to the people that have been living there to all of a sudden change this and make it into a traffic nightmare, because there's very limited road. Once you get outside of Highway 96, there's only Clovercroft and Wilson Pike. And I've seen, if I come home at the wrong time, 3/4 of a mile, the traffic is backed up from Wilson Pike on Clovercroft. And it's taken as much as 20 minutes just to get up there to where you can turn left or right. I can't imagine how bad it's going to be if all these additional people are piled into the same area. And one further thing, I don't know if any of the developers live in this area currently, or if they plan to be living in the area after this development is done. But the people that are paying the taxes and have been for years live here, and we don't want to see what's going to happen. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Peg Raciti?
Excuse me, Chairman, if I could, please. I'd request everybody to talk very closely into the microphone because it's difficult for those in the back to hear. So I know it might feel a little awkward, but just to pull the mic a little close to you or lean in a little bit would be much appreciated. I'll also turn on the TV in the hallway and we'll have to keep the doors closed, but that'll be another opportunity for those that are trouble hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Peg Raciti. I live on Nuthatch Lane, which is all off of Paytonsville Trinity Road. Regrettably, I am very late to the urban growth game. I want to thank all of you who have been working on this, and especially those who have fought hard to kind of check it. And I do honor that. And I am here to strongly oppose the last-minute addition of the land parcel in the Mays Creek Basin in the Franklin urban growth boundary for four reasons. This is simply an end run to create a huge development that has already been denied in 2018. The Envision Franklin document itself clearly states that the Mays Creek Basin is not a good candidate for development and growth because of the massive infrastructure it would take to be successful. That includes the water, the sewer, the fire safety, and the increase to the schools. That's kind of a big thing, and especially when the budget around us, we're talking about school budgets not meeting. There are things we're talking about tax increases. So I think also a single property owner or two property owners should not be in a position to do a last-minute addition to the map. Recently, Spring Hill had this same issue where they tried to put in another additional parcel, and that was rejected because it wasn't in the map and it was just sort of snuck in as a request. That is not the way it has been done, and you have worked too hard on the maps to go ahead and do a last minute. Recently, the flood concerns on Trinity Road are huge. The Trinity Road was completely flooded, and I think that this development in conjunction with the other developments, the Poplar Farms and such, is causing major flooding. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Peg. Karen Smith?
Hello, I'm Karen Smith. I live in 4343 North Chapel Road. This 1970s Joni Mitchell song was re-recorded and sung by over 600 artists. Its lyrics are still relevant today, and it goes like this. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot with a pink hotel, a boutique, and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you have until it's gone? They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Village Green is townhomes, duplexes, condos, a convenience mart, a nail salon. That's like building a parking lot. Single-family homes on large lots, community gardens, equestrian stables, horse trails with the potential for equine therapy. That's like building paradise. Planning commissioners, along with the large landowners, have the opportunity here to architect paradise in the Mays Creek Basin. We don't want or need another parking lot. Protecting our streams, creeks, floodplains, large lot homes, rural surroundings, no retail. This is the land use plan that we should remain true to. Please vote no for the proposed high-density and commercialization development, Village Green. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda Artemov?
Hello, my name is Linda Artemov. I live on Warren Hollow Road, and I actually, I want to say I escaped California a few years ago to come live in the country. I did not expect to have to come and battle every few months to maintain the country lifestyle that we're used to in the area. Just like the first gentleman said, he doesn't know if the builders live in the area or if they plan to live in the area, but I know not a single person, and a lot of them can't come here to speak because they have children and such, but nobody agrees with this. Nobody wants this. And I don't understand why you guys want to turn this into, or the builders want to turn this into, an overgrown city. It's just not what the majority of the people that I know, all of the people that I know, how they feel. And so I just want to emphasize a resounding no on this build. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Linda. And Dean White?
Yes, my name's Dean White. I live at 2055 Wilson Pike. My farm is right at the intersection of North Chapel Road and Wilson Pike. I'm confused. I don't know where this 600 acres is that we're talking about. I've looked on every website. Do y'all have anything that shows where it is? Huh?
Keep talking.
Okay. All right, I think this property, if it's a Smith property, joins my property. I think a lot of the confusion is I can't find a map. So I was offered a big yellow no sticker when I came in. I said, I don't know if I want a sticker or not, because I don't know if I'm in favor of this or not, because I don't even know where it is. But my comment is, this issue is vitally important to my property. I've got horse stables. I bought this property 2 years ago. I think it joins my property. I think there's a lot of confusion with the public about what Village Green is. As I understand it, Mr. Ward knows way more than anybody, I guess. I think it's 70% open space and 30% subject to development, which I'm not sure all these people that got these no stickers on realize that that's what this is. It's not like a huge development if it is confined to 30% of the land and it's smart development, like all the signs say. We want smart development. You know, I'm not sure that 30% in some type of mixed use, particularly along Highway 96, is the wrong thing. I'm not sure it's the wrong thing for my property. I think to me, it's very responsible development. If it was going to be like Clovercroft in 96, there's wall-to-wall houses and a absolute nightmare for this area, I'm strongly opposed to it. If it's something like what they're talking about building across the street from West Haven, I think that's a good thing. So I cautiously support, depending on where this is and what it is.
Yeah. Thank you, Dean. Okay. We'll proceed with Jeff Goodspeed and Tracy Goodspeed, Brian Harriman, Greg Gamble. Let's go with those.
Hello, my name's Jeff Goodspeed. I live in the city of Franklin. I'm here representing my fellow community members. The reason I'm here is because of the Envision Franklin 600 acres that was dropped into the middle of that change. Personally, I believe it's poor planning due to the abundant shortfalls of the infrastructure in the Mays Creek Basin. I worked in public safety for 25 years. The current public safety of the infrastructure in Williamson County right now, especially in that area, is lacking. I've talked to the police administration for the Williamson County Deputy Sheriff, and they said there's not enough deputies right now for them currently. They have no funding to increase that currently. They're proposing an increase and have asked for more deputies. That's not enough for what it is that's needed. The development in the immediate area coming and currently is Kings Chapel, Stearns Creek, High Park Hill, Bonterra, Ladd Park, Poplar's Farm, and Fiddler's Glen. That's thousands of homes and families. Again, we already don't have enough deputies to handle that, and you're adding more to that exact same area. Obviously, it's a very big shortfall in public safety and the resources. Let's talk about fire safety now. Fire safety is even more lacking than the Sheriff's Department. Right now, that entire area that you're talking about putting a high-density Village Green area is run by volunteer fire department. That means they don't have the training, they don't have the manpower, or even the trucks that's needed for something with all those that I just listed above and another 600 plus homes. Let's take, for example, your current response times for just Franklin City Fire Department. That's 5 minutes and 34 seconds. That's 1 minute, 34 seconds more than it's supposed to be. And now you want to add even more homes to the area that's being looked after from a volunteer department. You also have 500-gallon hydrants. When they put out a fire, the hydrants go dry and have to bring in pumper trucks. That's not acceptable. That's not what planning is. That's the opposite of planning.
Okay. Can you wrap up your comments, please?
Yep. Nobody that I've talked to wants this development, and we live in the area. The only person that I can see would want this is the developers, and that seems to be why it was put right in the middle of that Envision Franklin update.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goodspeed.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Tracy Goodspeed?
Good evening. My name is Tracy Goodspeed, and I'm a resident of Watkins Creek. I am a retired assistant superintendent of schools, and I am here to address the proposed Village Green. As of today, there are 984 housing units approved, including Poplar Farms and Reedsville. These numbers equate to an even larger number of children that will need to be attending school. The schools in our area will feel a direct impact in the number of children needing schools. The current capacity at Trinity Elementary is 91%, Page Middle School is at 94%, and Page High School is at 74%. The Williamson County School District currently has shortages of teachers, counselors, resource officers, bus drivers, and more. They are struggling to fill those positions currently without the impact of Poplar Farms being even built yet. Can you imagine the further impact of Village Green if this were to be approved? Building an additional 600 units proposed for Village Green will have a monumental impact on our schools and the quality of education for our children. Class sizes will inevitably go up, the schools will continue to struggle to fill positions, and our children will feel the brunt of all of this. Until there is adequate school capacity and resources to serve our children, there should be no further development. The future of our children is dependent on the decisions that we make today. Please make the right decision and vote no to the proposed Village Green development. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Brian Harriman?
Hi, my name is Brian Harriman, 4253 North Chapel Road. I grew up in a small town that doesn't exist anymore, and it happened by votes like this that you're going to take tonight. This county, Williamson County, is an economic ecosystem, if you will. It needs farms, it needs horses, it needs livestock to keep these farms alive. If you can't cut and sell grass, if you can't keep that ecosystem working, it just disintegrates. You come to a point where there's a tipping point where there's no recovery. And pretty soon people that own large lots of land cannot afford them. They can't pay the taxes. They face having to sell off the property, subdivide it, and when that happens, I support subdivision, but there's two options. You can go large lot estate or high density. If you go large lot estate, you can kind of keep this thing going that we all love here. But if you go high density with too much of this property, it's all going to fall apart. And the people that are here for the rural lifestyle, we're going to get our votes and our voice diluted, because people that come in with high density living, they have completely different priorities than the farmers and the people that have been here for 30, 40, 50, and 100 years. Please pay attention to this. There are times when things cannot be turned around or stopped. We don't want any more farm museums. We want farms. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gamble?
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, Commissioners. I'm representing two special considerations tonight. There's a handout coming around to you with the language of those special considerations. The first is a request by the Community Housing Partnership. You received a letter earlier this week where CEO Wayne Weaver wrote, "Our intention is to convert an existing assisted living facility that's on Carruthers Parkway today into an independent living facility tailored to meet the unique needs of our aging population and individuals with special needs." He continues that one of the key features of this project is to focus on affordability and accessibility. The proposed facility will offer affordable rent with all utilities and Wi-Fi included, ensuring that our senior community can access quality housing options that meet their need. This is not a tear down rebuild. This is an opportunity to take an existing structure and use it for the benefit of community housing partnership, affordable housing, and special needs adults. They're requesting a special consideration be added to the mixed residential design concept, which states, for properties located between I-65, a Carruthers Parkway, and north of Upland Drive, existing assisted living facilities may be converted to multifamily residential units. The reason it's multifamily residential units is that independent living does not have a defined category in the ordinance, and so we have to call it multifamily. Demolition of such buildings for the purposes of constructing new multifamily residential units is not supported. In other words, they can't go in, tear the building down, and build back an apartment complex. That's would be restricted from this policy statement. The second is a request you have contemplated and included in Envision Franklin, the change from residential at Brownland Farms to civic recreational design concept at Brownland Farms, removing the opportunity for those overnight stays with all the floodplain around. This is a request by two nonprofits, Christ Community Church and GraceWorks, that additional language be added so that they could contemplate an addition in their campus plan. As you know, Christ Community Church is a development plan. It has to go back to Planning Commission and then all the way back through to the board and mayor and aldermen if they make a revision to that plan. The adoption of this special consideration would allow for the contemplation of GraceWorks on their campus where they can share parking lot, they can share infrastructure. In this, it would be the additional sentence of supporting local philanthropic uses, including office, charitable, fraternal, social organization, and retail associated with storage and prep areas may also be appropriate when aligned with civic institutional and included in a master plan campus. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, Valencia Breckenridge, Patrick Baggett, Wayne Weaver, Israel Holliday, and Cheryl Hughes. Valencia?
Hi, everybody. Valencia Breckenridge. Man, I want to give GraceWorks address as my address, but I'll give my home address, 3108 St. Stephen's Way, Franklin, Tennessee. I'm excited to follow Greg as I look at all the work that has gone into Envision Franklin. I feel like I have this teeny tiny little request just to sneak in there, and that is a slight adjustment to the Envision Franklin plan that will allow GraceWorks Ministries to exist on the property of Christ Community Church in about 6 acres of land. And so I hope that that's approved. I don't know if Matt Brown is here. I thank him before you, and if he's here, Matt, I don't know. But the language that he presented is basically our request, just a slight adjustment to the plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Wayne Weaver with Community Housing Partnership. We're at 129 West Folk Street. There is not a day that, or a week, I should say, that goes by in our office that we do not have a senior or a parent with an adult child with a disability looking for a home in the city of Franklin. And we only have 45 rental units in the city, and we have to turn them away. In most cases, waiting for a vacancy. So when we saw the opportunity to purchase this building that's been vacant for a few years on Carruthers Parkway, we've been working on this for over a year now and have gone in and have a vision whereby seniors and adults with disabilities can live together and share a common recreation area, supporting one another, which is, I believe, a beautiful plan. There is an office space in the building that we would occupy as the management office on site. And as Mr. Gamble mentioned, all of the changes to this property would be interior by adding kitchens to the existing rooms. And we just hope that you support this. From our perspective, this is an urgent need because we just don't have a place to send people for rentals, most especially our seniors and our adults with disabilities. Thank you.
Great, thank you, sir.
Patrick Baggett, Alderman, 4th Ward, Murfreesboro Road, Franklin, Tennessee. No, this is a dream for some of you all. I have a 2-minute limit to speak. But I'm here on behalf of fellow Alderman Jason Potts, who couldn't make it tonight, who had been working with the Community Housing Partnership on this Envision Franklin amendment that you have been presented with that is in his ward. And I also support that amendment. I do believe that when given the opportunity to do something for affordable housing partners like Community Housing Partnership in a smart way, we should do that. And making this change will help that organization fulfill that goal. The other amendment that was not in our BOMA meeting when we recommended this, that we did not speak on specifically, was the GraceWorks request, which I also support that amendment to allow for that use on the Christ Community property or along with Christ Community. Finally, just sitting here, don't forget the 1.5 years, speaking on the broader plan, that we have put in to try and put together a plan that preserves rural character. 70% open space in Village Green is 20% more open space than what we just looked at the Short property. 20% more open space than what we just looked at the Short property. On this particular property that many are speaking of, the 70% of the property that will be open space on that property, that it will be the largest publicly accessible park in the city of Franklin. And it will be rural character, horses, just like the Paved Paradise speaker, who I thought was great. It's exactly what this plan was made to do. It is not a major development. It is not West Haven 2.0. You all know that. And you know the heart of what we've been doing over the last 2 years is to try to fix, quite frankly, the conservation subdivision plan that we just looked at on the Short Farm. The Village Green is one of those fixes for the rural areas, so that it is not like as dense as it is even on that property. So that was a bonus. I'm less than 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
My name is Israel Holiday. My family and I live at 183 Trinity Road, right on the boundary of the proposed Village Green area. I would ask that you guys vote no to this proposed Village Green. Once this beautiful farmland is lost, there will be no coming back. A couple things to consider. Over the past 3 years, there have been 543 accidents reported by Tennessee Highway Patrol, Franklin Police, and the Williamson County Emergency Management. That's over 14 accidents, traffic accidents, per month over the past 3 years. With the widening of Highway 96, which is one item that has been proposed as sort of the fix for the traffic congestion in the area, semi-trucks will continue to divert off of 840. The traffic path from Rutherford County will continue to widen, and the congestion in the area will only get worse. Another item that I would like you guys to consider, the 70% rule for this particular 600 acres for this Village Green designation works if it follows the depiction that you guys have put together. The problem with this particular piece of 600 acres is a large percentage of it, I don't know the exact number, is in the floodplain. So the 70% rule is being requested, but the reality is the majority of that 70% is not developable property. It is in the floodplain and should be excluded from the 70% rule. The Village Green concept shows the high density in the center of the project with the surrounding landscape or buffer being on the perimeter. So you've got a paradise that's being surrounded by the property. All the landowners are surrounded by this, and the residents of the proposed Village Green have the buffer as well. But this land is in the floodplain and should be excluded. I ask that you vote no to this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holliday. We just can't do that. Okay, Cheryl?
Cheryl Hughes, 1752 and 1790 Burke Hollow Road, Nolensville. Regarding the Smith property at Mays Creek and the density of the Village Green designation, the property is at the edge of the current Franklin UGB, the UGB being elsewhere under discussion. It is not reasonable to have the high density of city zoning at the border going into the rural county. There should be some area of transition between the two that allows the city to blend into the county. We've heard the consideration of the 70% and the 30%, and that much of that acreage is in the floodplain. However, even considering that and that it increases the average point-something acre per unit, when you view this type of development from the highway or any other vantage point, it's just a sea of rooftops. It looks cluttered, bunched together, urban, like McKay's Mill looks and like Poplar Farms will look from a distance. The scene is not offset by open space around it. It would not blend in with the sprawling estate lots of nestled-down farms that are literally within sight of this property, much less the farms that are nearby. Barrington subdivision, which is between this parcel and Franklin, is units on 1 acre lots. So homes on 1 to 1.5 acres would be a lot more reasonable for this boundary area, not considering the floodplain. Some official has stated recently that the Village Green is what rural-leaning residents asked for this area. That is incorrect. The density this zoning would bring is not what we asked for. In 2017, there were open houses and surveys to complete to update the land use plan. I read 100 comments on the city survey results, and this was said over and over and over again. I love the rural feel, and Cool Springs is only 15 minutes away. We asked for the town and country option, not for the town to encroach upon the rural county. The density that would come with this Village Green zoning is not rural feel at the edge of the UGB. Also, I don't exactly understand why we need a retail node when this property is 3.7 miles from the Alexander Plaza Kroger and 2.7 miles from the McKay's Mill Publix. Triune, I understand from the March Arrington Special Area meeting.
Cheryl, can you wrap your comments up for us,
Yes,
please?
sir.
Thank you.
2 sentences. Triune wants a supermarket, and that would be a lot more obvious location for a retail node at the intersection of 2 highways and would prevent a lot of this shopping traffic from coming into Franklin. Thank you for your time and for your service to the city.
Thank you. Okay, next is John Morris, Chris Morris, Rick Canada, and John Williams.
Good evening, I'm John Morse, 4419 Russell Lane, which is just off Arno Road. So we're a little bit further away than most of the folks on Pate Road and North Chapel. But to refute a couple things, this is West Haven 2.0 or Barry's Farm 2.0. 70% will be including the zoning or the floodplain area. If you want to do 70% of the remaining balance, you got a different thing going. But I've been a county resident since 1977, Franklin resident from 89 to 2001. My wife and I moved out to East Williamson County when downtown Franklin, where we lived, got too crowded. Took too long to get anywhere. So we thought it'd be better to raise our kids in a rural atmosphere. That's kind of what we did. East Williamson County is about small farms, large estate lots, small churches, small communities, those kinds of things. There's some scattered subdivisions like a Nestle Downs Farm, our subdivision, Radcliffe, Rosemont, Blackhawk, Kings Chapel, all those kinds of things. But pretty much when you hit Arno Road and you're going on 96, you're in the country. It's country living, okay? Those are big things that mean a lot to a lot of people. The rural atmosphere is what we're talking about. The existing document that everybody labored over had a development reserve. And this area fits that definition exactly. If you read right down to it, and I can do it, and it just wastes time, as everybody knows. It is for large scale lots, that kind of stuff, all that kind of stuff that's out there right now. What you're asking Village Green to be put into this area is the opposite of that. Right off of the new update, it is intended to provide and establish a wider variety of housing options. Single family, duplexes, townhomes, multifamily, live, work, play kind of stuff. 6,500 square foot lots. That's not what is in this area, so it's going to dramatically change what's in this area, along with all the services that are required to support it. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Chris?
Hi, Chris Morse, 4419 Russell. I'm in Radcliffe. Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to speak. Thank you for your service. I'm here to oppose the Village Green designation as well. According to the updated Envision Franklin plan, all of this is supposed to be implemented with the Connect Franklin plan of 2021. I guess that came up during COVID when no one was meeting. This plan states on various pages that the road improvements, realigning of North Chapel Road, Trinity Road, and any of the required infrastructure won't happen until the 2040 timeline. So we're planning to change this designation, basically the zoning, and let a developer place a major project that is similar to Berry Farms without the roads to support it. Yet 16 years before the roads supporting this infrastructure are even in the plan. The reality is, we feel like the city of Franklin is reacting because a developer wants to do this, not because the people of the area want it. Are you, as a planning commission, going to change the plan every time a developer wants to fit their own needs? I just want to ask each of you, I'm assuming most of you live in the city of Franklin. If someone came up, and some of you, I think, have probably wooded area behind you or some open space around you. If someone wanted to come behind you and buy the 100 acres, 200 acres around you and put up a bunch of apartment complexes, would you vote for this? Thank you again. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Chris. Rick?
My name is Rick Canada. Excuse me. My name is Rick Canada. I live at 4348 North Chapel Road, Williamson County. Our U.S. Constitution established the United States as a democratic republic. It is democratic because the people govern themselves, and as a republic because government's power is derived from its people. This means that our government, federal, state, and local, is elected by the citizens, except in Franklin, Tennessee. I find it ironic that the namesake of this city, Benjamin Franklin, when asked at the end of the Constitutional Convention, "What do we have?" said, "We have a republic if we can keep it." We have not kept it in Franklin, Tennessee. The city officials who appointed you all to this commission were not elected by those of us who live in Mays Creek Basin. Excuse me. How is it right for you to be making decisions that will affect the quality of life and property values for people living in the Mays Creek Basin? There is no accountability for us. We cannot vote. We are being dictated to. I don't believe this is what the Constitution intended. I don't believe that it's right, and I don't believe it is moral that the city Franklin officials should have the authority to make decisions that will so drastically affect people who live in the Mays Creek Basin. Secondly, last Sunday it took us at least 15 minutes to go from South Carruthers to Royal Oaks Boulevard on 96 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There was no accident or construction, just high volume of traffic. The traffic was backed up on both north and southbound ramps back onto the expressway. What is the plan for the interchange at 96 and Interstate 65? When asked 6 years ago, your answer was that this is a project that belongs to the state, and the state will make all decisions if and when that interchange is to be improved. At this time, unless something has changed, there is no plan to modify this interchange anytime in the near future. Please correct me if I'm wrong. This overcrowded, outdated interchange affects all of us, Franklin residents or not, who must travel through it every day. What will it take for those in charge of making plans at all levels of our government to realize that infrastructure must come first before additional development? Will it take a patient dying in an ambulance that is stuck in traffic and cannot get through to the hospital? Will it take a person dying at their home because the EMTs can't get from the hospital to their home? Will it take a home or business burning down because the fire department cannot get through the intersection? What is your plan? Where is your compassion and concern for the citizens? Governments, big and small, have the same primary purpose: protect the safety and well-being of the citizens. It
Thank you,
seems
Mr.
that this
Canada.
is not the primary purpose of the Franklin city officials.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very
Canada.
much.
John Williams?
John Williams of John Williams Road. I still own the Century Farm that's been in my family for 6 generations, 7, depending on which side of the family you want to look on. This is an I told you so moment. This board has done as much with destruction of this community as any does. The people that complain now about the growth complain more than I did about McKay's Mill when it was built. I told the board then that the density was too much for the area. You have no regard for the privacy or quality of life, only so-called progress and growth. I see the majestic house and barns of Taproot destroyed, so now more rich farmland has gone to waste. Every turn from that developer is to pack more units in because of the increasing cost of roads and utilities. Instead of beautiful homes and yards, there will be separation of only 8-foot shotgun tall and skinnies. You've already lost control, and now it's exponentially going to get worse. What are you really planning for? Are you planning for catastrophes, illegals, slums, tax money invasion? What? I mean, how far into the future are you looking at this? Highway 96 was an expansion in 2024, and we're just almost finished, but still not to Murfreesboro as promised. Now, what is 96 going to do? Only to get more people in the gridlock at I-65 for a problem that you can't fix. Where do those people go to get around? Every little side street that any good street app can tell them. So the hot topic tonight, Mays Creek, as the group calls themselves, I like to label it as East Haven, since the plans look just like West Haven. Again, who do you work for? United Nations and their liberal push to force us to abide by their rules, and many cities and everybody working for the homes and working through the internet and riding around their electric cars to the stores? Or are you working for Joe Biden and making room for the illegals and the terrorists to have a cheap place to live and wait to attack us? I'll let it go.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Okay. Next, we've got Jeff Eslick, Jack Davidson, Tom Weiss, Josh Denton. Okay.
I'm Jeff Eslick, 4300 North Chapel Road. I'm a 4%er. I was born and raised here. Seen a lot of growth, some good, some not so good. I just think this make a few points to why I disapprove of this. A couple of points. The reason I disagree with this is traffic. Number one, 96 is already very, very backed up any time of day. Next is the schools. Schools are already taxed to death with students. They're overcrowded. Don't have enough SROs, and putting a high density development in is only going to affect that even more. Also, taxes. Our taxes are already crazy. but I just feel like that would probably raise our taxes as well down the road. My property actually backs up to Mays Creek, and the more development that happens upstream affects flooding and everything else downstream, which we already have floodplain on the property, which I feel like that would only get worse. The people that moved out to this area, they wanted to move out there for the rural setting, and it's going away slowly but surely. So I asked you to vote no for this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, it's Jack Davidson. I live on Trinity Road, and I'm going to talk about some traffic issues, not the other infrastructure stuff. The possible redesignation represents a potential dramatic change to the traffic flow, not only on 96, but many roads east of Franklin. The roads I'm going to highlight here tonight are surrounding the 600 acres that we're talking about. 2023 TDOT data shows that nearly 16,000 vehicles per day travel on 96 east of Arno only, 23,000 west of Arno. That's a 27% increase since 2020, and that's despite the construction. The traffic on Wilson Pike on the north side has increased over 50% since 2020. There are three major arterial and collector roads close to the 600 acres, 96, Wilson Pike, and Clovercroft. According to the Franklin CTNP, Clovercroft is projected to be completed by 2030. It's the nearest one. The two Wilson Pike projects will keep the road a narrow, no shoulder, winding, two-lane, double yellow line, low speed limit with two one-lane tunnels for the next 11 years. There are three long-term minor collector projects, two for North Chapel and one for Trinity. All will remain two-lane roads with little shoulder, low speed limits, lined with lots of homes until 16 years from now, 2040. The 2016 corridor study analyzed 4 roads, one of which was Clovercroft. There's a lot of data there, but an intersection of Clovercroft and Wilson Pike was identified with an F level of service. That's the one the gentleman was talking about earlier. F level of service with the worst extreme traffic delay. Traffic signals mitigate the issue, but the two Wilson Pike projects won't be complete for 11 more years, 2035. There are no traffic signals between Arno and Triune on 96. The proposal has several entrances direct onto 96. Without signals, there's potential for some traffic issues and accidents, and with signals, the traffic flow is negatively impacted. Any possible traffic study should be transparent and well advertised and include any analysis of nearby roads, just not the access points. It is time to stand back, assess where we are so we can make some thoughtful decisions about our agricultural community. Let us envision Franklin, preserve the past, rural and agricultural. I suggest we vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Joshua Denton, and I'm asking to swap places with Tom Weiss, who I represent. So he asked me to go first. 1072 Lewisburg Pike in Franklin. I represent Mr. Weiss and Mr. Bowman, who both live in Williamson County off of South Berry's Chapel Road. And they are leading a group of concerned citizens about development in that area. And what we're here to, this really came to our attention based on a development that's pending already that's going before BOMA on South Berry's Chapel. And it brought to the forefront some issues that were concerns with the Envision Franklin plan, including lack of setbacks on South Berry's Chapel, some lot size issues as opposed to the density piece. And so, thank you, Tia. We've asked that a proposed condition, special condition, be placed on large lot residential for South Berry's Chapel's corridor. And what that would do would mandate minimum setbacks, deal with the fencing and the rural character, which is all part of the vision that's stated in the appendix of Envision Franklin. So we appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tom Weiss. I live on 2189 South Berry's Chapel Road, and I'm here to speak about the condition that Mr. Denton spoke about with regard to our rural corridor and the development. Our group of concerned members on South Berry's Chapel came together because of a development that was being proposed due to annexation. We met with the developer and trying to work through some issues with them. We met with them twice. We met with planning. Members of our team has met with planning to better understand Envision Franklin and what can be done with regard to our rural corridor of a narrow road. And what we're asking for is, again, we're not against the development of the area. We just wanted to preserve the rural nature. The average lot size on our road is about 15 acres. That ranges from 100-acre farms to 4 to 5 acre lots, and we want to keep that. So what the condition we're asking for, I don't know the proper terminology, is for setbacks, minimum 2-acre lots, and that will also protect our road. Our road runs from Franklin Road, which right now is a dangerous intersection, which is a state road. Our road right now is a county road, which is narrow, and it intersects on Linwood Way. So any additional traffic there is going to be, well, in some cases dangerous, in some cases just a pain when you try to go through that intersection. I'm sure you all have seen our road. We want to keep it as with the view sheds as rural as possible, and we appreciate your time and understanding with regard to the rural nature of our area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and Andrew Johnston and Amy Johnston, Janet Curtis, Randy Lovelace, and Rodney Rose.
Hi, I'm Andrew Johnston. I live at 4422 Murfreesboro Road, and the proposed planning that goes along with the Mays Creek addition would make my house and several of my neighbors' houses an island in the middle of this giant development. So I have some really personal concerns about it. But I'm also here on behalf of others in this community, and I'll share some specifics in writing directly with the commission, but I wanted to make sure that I stood up in the public forum and added my voice to encourage you to vote no to this resolution, specifically because of the Mays Creek parts of this. You've heard many times tonight that infrastructure is the real issue. In 2018, a virtually identical proposal to this was emphatically denied for infrastructure problems, and it appears that this is another chance to just run it up the flagpole. While we still have major issues with things like the infrastructure of fire departments and water and sewer, our schools, traffic has been mentioned several times. I'm keenly aware of the changes that have happened on Highway 96 since I encounter them every day when I leave my driveway, since my house is immediately on Highway 96. But in spite of some of the efforts to increase that just simply doesn't change the situation enough to make this feasible. We'll still have all the backups that you've heard about, or as you know, increasing the size of one artery like that may alleviate some problems, but in the system it actually increases problems elsewhere because of the large number of traffic that'll now be moving down that. Maybe more important than this to me in other ways is just the sense of good faith that I hope to have with the city and the city planning. For those of us that have been here for over 20 years, we came here, as you've heard, for the experience of the kind of community that has space, that has kind of what you've heard referred to as sort of the country living experience. I would hope that you would hold true to those things that were articulated in that agreement 20 years ago as we understood that's what we'd be living in. Now it appears that this is getting turned over rather than being held to, and we're the ones that bear the brunt of that. So I'd encourage you to vote no to this, to avoid making a decision that would appear to cast your vote or cast your work in the service of one development, or maybe worse, to trade your interest in future residents at the expense of those that help build the community that are attracting them.
Thank you. Janet Curtis.
My name is Janet Curtis. I live at 3665 North Chapel Road. Good evening, Commissioners.
Can you?
Sorry.
There you go.
First, I'd like to thank you for your time and service to the community. Second, I would like to take this opportunity to say that the residents of the Mays Creek Basin are struggling to continue to have the way of life that they have chosen. On a citizen survey in 2018 through the city of Franklin, almost 82% wanted limited growth. I did a personal survey where I duplicated the city survey, asked the exact same questions, and gave the exact same answers. 80% wanted limited growth. The city survey in 2018, 70% wanted greenways and trails. My survey, 70% wanted greenways and trails. You've heard about the traffic. It's just absolutely incredible. We can't even talk about it. The improvements to the roads is 6 to 16 years away. The floodplain. In 2018, Andrew Orr said that there is significant flooding on the Smith property. That has not changed. The rating for that property is an AE, which means elevation certificates are necessary, flood insurance is mandatory, and that it is in the 100-year floodplain. School overcrowding, Trinity at 91%, Creekside 91%, Clovercroft 78%, Arrington 70%. Williamson County residents have been responsible for the cost of building, staffing, and maintaining 3 schools within the last 3 years, and within the 3 years, over 70% or more at occupancy rate. This is all before Reed's Vale is built out, Fiddler's Glen, High Point Hill, and Poplar Farms. And since there is no up-to-date information concerning the capacity to process water sewage and no completed Mays Creek Basin study, I am requesting that you vote no for the designation change to Envision Franklin. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Randy Lovelace, and then Rodney Rose.
Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners, I'm Randy Lovelace. I live at 220 Carnes Drive here in Franklin, Tennessee. I have the pleasure of serving Christ Community Church as lead pastor. I've served here for 2.5 years. My early months were spent meeting all of our community nonprofit partners who we have partnered with over the decades to serve Franklin and Williamson County. Early in those meetings, I had the opportunity to meet Valencia Breckenridge and the team and staff at GraceWorks. I'm here to ask you and commend to you the approval of the amendment that would allow us to call GraceWorks a permanent neighbor. When Christ Community Church was started here in downtown Franklin, there was at one point in its growth that it was pejoratively called the church that ate Franklin. It is my desire and vision to partner with GraceWorks to be the church that welcomes Franklin. In my 28 years of ministry, I've rarely met a nonprofit that is more holistically concerned about the service of this community and of any community. The needs of this community have not gone down post-COVID, they've only increased. This important work in our midst meets the needs of this community. Please consider joining us at Christ Community to put to bed the need for them to find a permanent home. We are excited about that potential, and your vote in improving this amendment will be a crucial step in the process of welcoming a community partner that is and stands by its vision of neighbor serving neighbor in the power of God's grace. It is our desire that they serve the next generation with a permanent home to serve this community. Again, please join me and consider approving this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rodney Rose, please.
Good evening. My name's Rodney Rose. I wanted to say that I'm a fan of the Envision Franklin document. I think it's great. It does need some clarification. Envision Franklin is not the zoning ordinance, which is a ruling document, but sometimes some people get it confused. And specifically, I'm going to speak as Tom and Josh came up here earlier. I got involved with the Southbury's Chapel project that's being developed, and it's sort of at the last minute of the development, so I feel sorry for those developer having to deal with this. It's gone through what he's gone through already. Excuse me, but a lot of it had to do with the zoning and Envision Franklin. It wasn't clear. In Envision Franklin, it has a call out on page 127, Appendix B currently for Southbury's Chapel area. It does not specify well enough, and it adds a lot of adjectives that confuses the zoning code, such as the term large lot residential. There is no such zoning district as large lot residential. That needs to be addressed and clarified, because then planning at their own will can go ahead and pick what zoning seems to be large lot is what it appears in their mind. However, in this particular case, this is an annexation as well, which requires rezoning at time of annexation. The zoning code calls out in chapter 20 that at time of annexation, there's two options, estate residential or agricultural. And it goes into that, but those are kind of overlooked because I don't know if that's a normal, when you're in the urban growth boundary, you're always going to be annexing in, correct? So that would be the zoning issue that would be at hand, but that's being overlooked because I think it's kind of abnormal. A normal rezoning is already within the city, has its own zoning, and you're changing it. So it's a special consideration. Within Envision Franklin, it has lots of great terms such as view shed, natural beauty, protection of the environment and the whole natural settings that are there. That needs to be addendumed into the Appendix B on page 127 for South Berry's Chapel, please, because that is a hot spot for future development, and it would avoid a lot of pain for everybody if that was clarified just a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's all the speaker cards I've got. So I declare the public hearing closed. So, speaking on behalf of the applicant, Andrew, do we have anything further? Okay, so I've got questions for staff, and we've had several requests for special considerations. I've had several requests for special considerations, and from the perspective of how we handle those items, because as I understand it, those can either be adopted as part of the motion.
So I would recommend that you get a main motion on the floor first, and then if you wish to make changes to the plan, you can do that by making an amendment.
Okay.
So, so the first thing that you would do is you would get a main motion on the floor for discussion. And then after that point, if you wish to add a special consideration or make a change to Envision Franklin of any sort, you could do that by making an amendment. And then you would state what that amendment is, and you would vote on that individually.
And by voting on each one individually, that rolls back up to the main motion, so. Okay, so is there a main motion for this item?
Move for approval.
We have a motion for approval
I'll second.
by Commissioner Orr and a second by Commissioner Williamson.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear.
We gotta go. We gotta move.
So we have a motion for approval by Commissioner Orr and a second by Commissioner Williamson for a main motion to approve. Are there amendments to this motion?
For discussion.
For discussion.
Discussion? Go.
So I would like to start discussion with what we've discussed the most here tonight, going back to the Mays Creek Basin. We had, and I want to start with this because back in 2018, we had a lot of discussion about this very 600 acres, and we went through all of that, and I won't rehash. But what I'd like to do is, because we had the Conservation Reserve, I talked to staff about this, and we talked about the three things that were up. The Village Green, and what I'd really, one of the reasons that I had been in the dissenting vote on what was up in 2018, and we had, that prevailed. And so looking at, traffic, all of the concerns that have been discussed tonight, and we had all discussed this back in 2018, for this area, I think what is most appropriate, since we've taken away that designation, the Development Reserve, I think it is, the Conservation Development Reserve, would be Rural Reserve and so I'm offering as an amendment for this Mays Creek Basin area, rural reserve. And part of that is, and it's been brought up, is this is part of, we have floodplain in this area. And although people will tout the 70%, which is part of Village Green, which I don't knock that. We talked about Village Green, and I do like that. But part of that 70% is part of the floodplain. Can't build on it anyway, okay? And you know, we can go back and forth on that. But for this area too, and we talk about gateways into the city, this is part of a gateway into the city from the east, okay? And we talk about, when we're talking about, you know, coming down gateway of the city and all that, from rural, from farming, from farms and all of that, and coming into, as we hit 96, and then we hit the Steak and Shake and the, you know, the interstate and all of that. In my opinion, for this part, it would be rural reserve and not Village Green. And so I'm offering as amendment that this part, instead of being Village Green, would be rural reserve.
Second.
Marcia, could I just
Alderman
get you to
Peterson.
clarify that that's for the parcels that are currently designated Village Green along Highway 96?
Along Highway 96,
East?
I'm sorry, coming back, along Highway 96 East. Those that are, we have currently proposed for Village Green along Highway 96 East to be designated as rural reserve and not Village Green.
Along the highway.
Along Highway 96, yes.
Come here,
And what does that do to the rest of the,
My change is just that is mine.
Okay.
Several things. Yeah, go ahead, excuse me.
I think,
So-
and Commissioner.
so if we've got an amendment to classify the land along the highway as rural reserve. And that amendment's been seconded by Alderman Peterson.
He had a comment first.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Jim?
I can't seem to support that due to the fact that it's less than 1 unit per acre out there. And if he decided to go to the county and do a drip fill system, you know, he'd have the same amount of homes potentially scattered out there. So, you know, it's, I don't know who needs to govern that particular site, whether it's the county or whether it's the city. But being that it's in the urban growth boundary and all the municipalities been mandated by the state, we don't have a lot of control. I think this goes before Bowman. There's a lot of motion that has to occur with the planning commission for many months to come, that, you know, we can identify the project and identify the concept plan. And, you know, I feel like that we need to go by staff's recommendation.
Well, in this case, correct me if I'm wrong, getting sewer to this property, when we talked about this in 2018, getting sewer to this property, for us, we're talking 2040, 2050, whatever, is a long haul anyway. So to be honest with you, you know, if we go back to 2018, we can look at the minutes or whatever. Us getting sewer to this property right now is a dream. So I don't know if we're going to have it, if the county's going to have it anyway. So I think we have to make the best decision for us right now. I don't think we can kind of, you know, whether it's going to be in the city or the county or whatever. The property owner's going to have to make that decision, to be honest with you. We can't force them to come in the city. If they decide to go to the county, that's not really on us. But as far as us providing sanitary sewer to this location,
Right.
we can't do it right now. So I don't think that can really enter into our decision.
Yeah, and what we're doing is we're defining land use.
Right.
Because this is not an annexation.
No.
This is not a development plan. This is not a promise to provide water and sewer. All we're doing is defining land use.
That's right.
We all recognize that it'll take decades to
Right.
provide some of the infrastructure that would be required to build a significant development. Mr. Harrison?
I know in the past we talked about the city doing a feasibility study of, we're doing the best we can. In the past, there was discussion of doing a feasibility study for infrastructure proposed for the Mays Creek Basin. Was it ever performed?
So currently, the water department has contracted with a group to do an update to the Mays Creek sewer basin plan.
Okay.
That, the results of that have not been presented, but it should be forthcoming in the near future. As far as any transportation assessment or anything like that, there has not been an update to connect Franklin for this area that I'm aware of.
Okay. So we'll need to see what that, sewer may not be affordable to even go in this area at the end of the day. Or cost prohibitive.
Last time it was studied, it required a significant investment to extend sewer to this area, whether it be private or public investment.
Other comments? Alderman Peterson?
I want to say something else about Village Green that I think has an effect in the area that we are talking about. If you look in Envision Franklin, Village Green has several aspects written about it. One of them says vehicular connections should be provided through adjacent developments. Connect to the existing street network and provide or interconnect sidewalk and street network in a grid or modified grid pattern. But in other words, it is saying that if you develop this, even if you're talking about the 70% open space and the other part, it says connections must be provided through adjacent developments. I do not think the people who are living out there in developments that are present now are going to want to have streets connected to them. And so that is one of the things. But it says, if there are existing street connections or suburbs, or stub outs adjacent to proposed developments, then those can fit into the proposed development should connect to the existing street network. Again, I think this is one of the reasons that the Mays Creek area would not want to have Village Green as their area.
Commissioner McLemore.
Yes, I will not be supporting the Village Green concept because when I think about the schools and think about right now they're overcrowded, shortage of teachers, shortage of bus drivers, and it's been said by some of the people here already, but as I think about that and as we have to have increased taxes and we've had in the past, and the more and higher density we have, the more students we're going to have. And right now we have overcrowded schools and we're having to build schools every year. And when I see that part of it, I just cannot support changing that from the lower density to the higher density development onto the concept.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? So we have a motion on the floor. This is an amendment to the main motion to change the land along the highway to rural reserve. A motion seconded by Alderman Peterson. Is there any final discussion on that amendment?
Mr. Chairman, is that just for Mays Creek?
It's Mays Creek.
Mays Creek.
Yes,
It's for the parcels that Andrew's pointing to on the map on the screen that are dark green
So
along
does that affect
Murfreesboro Road.
Graceworks?
No.
No.
This
is just the
I know
Mays
it's on the other side of town.
Yeah. Yeah, just 96 East.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, are we going to vote on this amendment and I guess address this first? Or are we introducing other, we're just going to vote on this amendment, okay?
Yeah. No further discussion? So I can't see the map over there.
Does anybody have any questions on what the rural reserve policy is?
It'd be nice to hear that.
Yes.
Andrew, could you review that with them?
Big picture, it sets aside 50% open space with a minimum lot size of a half acre, I believe, and it's single family only. So it's a single family residential design concept, 50% open space, half acre minimum lot size.
That could be worse.
So then, really,
That could be worse.
well, so really, kind of the difference between these, between Village Green
Because there's technically more open space required in Village Green, less per se in Rural Reserve. The big difference is the density of the residential, how dense it is. So you could, I did some quick back-of-hand math, so yeah, you could end up with a lot more density in Village Green. And then the other big thing I see is kind of like a little bit of flavor of mixed use in there, is that correct?
Under
Yes.
Village Green, there is a mixture of uses.
Okay, so then,
Including multifamily
No
and many
multifamily.
other things.
Small scale multifamily.
does that include or exclude commercial?
Includes.
Includes.
As
So
a
that includes
secondary, as
commercial
a
as well.
secondary use.
Okay, so that's a pretty significant.
But we did away with the designation it is now. We can't go back to what that is. So we have a choice.
Yeah, you choose
So-
between them. Yeah. Yeah.
Mr.
And I
Chairman,
would say,
if I may, the current designation in Envision Franklin's Development Reserve,
Right.
and that policy still exists.
Correct.
So could be an option as well.
Conservation subdivision is what went away.
Yeah.
Yeah, replaced with the
that's what I'm
three
saying.
alternatives.
So, what do we do?
yeah, and I would say just put my comment in there,
Where
is
is
that there's a
development?
lot of concerns
What
about
page is it on?
sewer, there's studies that still have to be done. There's a lot of kind of unknowns that we are anticipating to not look good for a higher density development in this area. So I think I would also be in favor of what Marcia proposed there.
Any other questions? We've got an amendment to the main motion to modify the parcels along the road to rural reserve. The rest of the land then would stay in accordance with what the existing, the conservation subdivision.
Development reserve.
Yeah, this would only apply to the dark green areas north and south of Murfreesboro Road that are Village Green. So this motion only impacts those 600 acres.
Okay. Okay, so we've got an amendment to the motion. So we'll go by roll call vote. Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Franks?
No.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner Mann?
No.
Commissioner McLemore?
Aye.
Commissioner Orr?
No.
Alderman Peterson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Williamson?
Aye.
The ayes have it. So that amendment to change to rural reserve passes. So we're back to a main motion. It's our amendment for
to amend the
Grace
main
Works
motion.
component.
I'd like to amend the main motion, please.
Okay.
I would like to propose that we include the special consideration for mixed residential design concept for properties located between Interstate 65 and Carruthers Parkway and north of Upland Drive. Existing assisted living facilities may be converted to multifamily residential units. Demolition of such buildings for the purpose of constructing new multifamily residential uses is not supported.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have
Could
an
we have
amendment.
that again, because I couldn't hear it, I'm sorry.
It's the same one that's written right here.
It's
I'll
it's
read
on
it.
the
Okay.
handout
Special
page.
consideration for
handout.
mixed residential design concept. For properties located existing between Interstate 65 and Carruthers Parkway and north of Upland Drive, existing assisted living facilities may be converted to multifamily residential units. Demolition of such buildings for the purposes of constructing new multifamily residential uses is not supported.
Thank you.
And this is for the community housing project, right?
For CHP.
This is the project we refer to for the community housing project. Is there, and we had a second.
I
Is it
second.
Marcia? Is there any discussion on this amendment?
I'd just like to say this is a wonderful concept. I know adults with disabilities, the reality is it's beyond difficult to find resources and places where they're welcome. And so I think this is very much needed in this community.
I agree. I think it's a major asset. It will be to the city of Franklin and to the needs that are here.
Great. Any further
Well, I
discussion?
certainly support
Okay.
what's been proposed.
All right, we'll vote by roll call. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
We're voting for it, right?
This is for the CHP. Yeah.
In favor of it?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
Okay, that motion for that amendment passes.
I'd like to make another amendment motion,
Yes.
Mr. Chair. I would like to make a motion to amend, I'm reading from number 1 on our page here where we have three options, 3 proposed amendments. I'm reading from number 1 here. So, in the civic and recreation design concept, special consideration for west of Hillsborough Road and along Mac Hatcher Parkway, requesting the addition of the bolded language here. The entire provision would read, indoor and outdoor commercial recreation uses are appropriate at this location, supporting local commercial uses such as physical therapy, sports-related training and services, related office uses, and restaurants and retail uses that support the multi-purpose sports complex are also appropriate. The bold language begins with supporting local philanthropic uses, including office, charitable, fraternal, social organization, and retail associated with storage and prep areas may also be appropriate when aligned with civic, institutional, and included in a master planned campus. That's the end of the bold language. The planned district is the appropriate zoning district to implement this vision.
This is the Brownland Farms.
Correct, that's the Brownland Farm.
Second.
And that is a second by Commissioner Harrison. Is there any discussion? Seeing none by roll call vote. Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsay votes aye. Commissioner Mann.
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore.
Aye.
Commissioner Orr.
Aye.
Alderman Peterson.
Yes.
And Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Is there an amendment for the Graceworks project?
That was
That was it. That was it.
Graceworks.
Wait a minute.
We're thinking of South Berry's Chapel.
Oh, wait.
That was Graceworks.
Yeah.
It was Brownland Farm
Included.
/ Graceworks.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have not done number 3 yet.
okay.
Well, what about the third one?
We haven't done that.
We haven't done that one.
We haven't talked about it.
Yeah, we have not done number,
Are we on number 3 yet, Roger?
we can do.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have another amendment, please. No, you should read this. I would like to amend west of Hillsborough Road and along McHatcher Parkway. Indoor and outdoor commercial recreation uses are appropriate at this location, supporting local commercial uses such as physical therapy, sports-related training and services,
That's what I
related
just-
office uses.
That's the one I just,
I thought you were doing
We just
Graceworks.
did that one.
that was Graceworks.
We just
No,
did
this
that
is-
one.
Okay, I thought this is a,
I thought that was Brownland
I
Farms.
thought it was Brownland Farm.
No, this is Brown Work. They just start off the same.
Oh, sorry, I withdraw.
No, you're right. They start off exactly the same.
That was wrong with me.
He's right. That is Brown Farm. He's reading.
If you'll look, I provided you kind of an outline of amendments
He's reading
requested by
Brown Farms now.
citizen emails. And
He's
we've
reading
already
Brown
done
Farms.
number 1 and 2 on this sheet.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get this sheet, so.
So we've done,
He's reading the right one.
So does number 1
we've already done
address
that.
both the
Graceworks is fine.
Graceworks component and the Brownland
The
Farms?
amendment that was just made by Commissioner Mann most recent one was for Christ Community Church and the request by Grace Works.
It was both of them
Right.
together.
Right.
He got both of them together, so he did
Yeah.
both of them, so you don't have to read that.
Not according to the city attorney.
You're good.
I'm good?
We've
So
done
I
two,
need to
and then
keep
we
my-
did one, now we gotta do number three.
He should have them both
I'm done.
combined. He's done. Yeah, it was both of them combined, Roger.
What's
He
that?
read both of them combined.
No, we're fine.
All right.
We just need to do this one.
Okay.
Oh, Lord Jesus, help us.
My apologies once again, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
Lord, this is different. Help us, Lord.
It's hot in
We've
here.
got like 3 different pages that have them written in different ways. So they're written 3
Okay.
different ways.
Yeah.
Different ways we've got them written. Can we do them all now?
No, number 3 on this
Yeah,
item
number 3.
is the Berry,
Number
South
3.
Berry Chapel.
Berry's Chapel is number 3 on here.
I guess I'll make the motion for number 3, just for us to discuss, at least for us to discuss. A large lot residential design concept, requested addition of voted special consideration below. The scenic corridor fronting South Berry's Chapel Road should have setbacks of at least 150 feet for new development in order to preserve its rural character. Informal landscape design and rural features such as stone walls, wood plank fencing, and informal tree planting should be utilized to sustain the scenic and rural quality of the area. New development within the South Berry's Chapel corridor should consist of single-family residential units with a minimum lot size of 2 acres to fit contextually with the surrounding rural character of the area.
Second that motion.
Second by Commissioner McLemore. Is there any discussion? This is on the South Berry Chapel Road. Large lot residential design concept. Seeing none, we'll do by roll call. Commissioner
Actually-
Allen?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
have a question. Emily, sorry to cut you off guard. This number 3, it seemed new to me. Is this something that we've discussed previously and perhaps I missed it? It seems
So-
very recently added.
There is the development that came before you recently, and it's now moved on to BOMA for consideration, and it's still in the approval process.
Okay.
And it was proposed for a subdivision located off South Berry's Chapel. So there is a group of neighbors and residents along South Berry's Chapel that have been involved in this process, and they are requesting this in relation to what they've encountered through that process.
So which properties does this impact, this amendment?
This, as written, the way I can best understand, staff didn't help with this language, but by reading it, we would apply it to any development that has immediate frontage on South Berry's Chapel Road.
That's how I was reading it.
So
Well,
if there were a rezoning or an annex, a lot of that area is not currently annexed into the city. So if there was an annexation and rezoning that came forward for those properties, any property along South Berry's Chapel Road, this would come into play.
Okay.
But we already passed it at the planning commission as, it joins BGA, correct?
Right,
Or,
you did make a recommendation, yes, for approval.
I do think I think I missed that month, so my apologies there. I will say, as far as a general envision update amendment, it seems awfully broad, particularly around the minimum lot size of 2 acres. You know, I think, I don't want to speak to that particular development, I did miss that and have the opportunity to opine on that, but I think for everything fronting South Berry's Chapel Road, that seems like a very broad vision that I don't think I can support this amendment as worded.
Okay.
May I say one thing? I don't know whether you noticed that someone said something about this tonight. But the thing is that most of the lots there on South Berry's Chapel are like from 5 acres to 100 acres.
Yeah, they're huge.
So then, looking at that map, and I was looking at Google Map compared to that with the street names, South Berry's Chapel Road is, what I'm looking at is on the northern boundary there. Is that purple kind of squiggle line right up to the hillside overlay? Yeah, where the cursor is right there? Oh, it's right there. Okay. Okay, so it kind of goes up in that direction. Yeah, on this one.
From Hillsborough Road to the Linwood.
To Linwood.
To Linwood, yeah.
Yes.
Kind of
And
that
it turns
corner.
into Moore's Lane Extension at that point.
Yep, okay. Yeah, I think on this one,
Franklin Road.
for the
Franklin Road.
first part of this,
Franklin Road, okay.
I think I understand the 150, like a bigger setback. I think I'm all for that, you know, and especially too, that's a lot of character. But I think just because the size of the lots are so variable that could be too broad of a stroke. Some areas it might be 100% appropriate, but other areas it might not. And so that's my hesitation on at least half of this. Bigger buffers, yeah, makes so much sense.
I will say that the other part is in the county, you know, so really, it's definitely much bigger lots.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about.
Does that change the,
My question was, this doesn't change what's already, our recommendation that's already gone to BOMA for the,
No, so the plan that's already in the process
Yeah.
would, this newly adopted plan that you do tonight will not apply to that plan. This would only apply to new projects coming through the pre-application stage after the adoption date of tonight or whenever you adopt the plan.
okay. So, it doesn't impact what we've already done
Right.
in the other development that straddles the BGA property. So, we have a motion for an amendment for the South Bears Chapel Road. Motion by Alderman Peterson, seconded by Commissioner McLemore. Is there any further discussion on this item? By roll call vote, Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
aye,
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsey votes aye. Commissioner Mann,
No.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Commissioner Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Williamson.
No.
Okay, that motion passes for that amendment. Are there any other amendments to the main motion? Okay, so we've got a main motion that has now been amended 4 times. The first amendment is to change the designation of the land along the road to rural reserve. That's a motion that passed. There was a motion,
That wasn't just the stuff that borders 96, that was everything in the shade of green, correct?
In the green.
We were changing all
It was
those.
600 acres, yes.
Yes.
That was.
Just Village Green
Billy
Green.
Village Green, yeah.
designation.
so it's anything that would change from Village Green to rural reserve.
Correct. For that area.
Okay. So that's an amendment that passed. The second amendment was to address the community housing action, the number 2 on this sheet, the mixed residential design for land between I-65 and Carruthers Parkway. That motion passed unanimously. The next was an amendment, designated amendment number 1 for civic and recreational design that addresses the land at Graceworks and the Brownland Farms motion. That motion passed unanimously. And then the fourth amendment was for the South Berry's Chapel Road. A motion made by Alderman Peterson, seconded by Commissioner McLemore. That motion passed with a vote of 7-2. So that's what, those roll up to the main motion. Is there any final discussion on the main motion? Hearing none by roll call vote, Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Commissioner Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsey votes aye. Commissioner Mann,
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
That motion passes unanimously. Okay. Is there any other business? Is there a motion to adjourn? I got a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Orr. And a second, was that you, Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
A motion for air conditioning.
By roll call vote, Commissioner Allen,
Aye.
Mr. Franks.
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison,
Aye.
Commissioner Lindsey votes aye, Commissioner Mann,
Yep.
Commissioner McLemore,
Aye.
Commissioner Orr,
Aye.
Alderman Peterson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Williamson.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
All right.